In 1986 in Shelton, Connecticut, a catastrophic and unexplained fire broke out, killing 32 people and destroying 50 homes. After ruling out arson and accident, the Shelton Police and Fire Departments mysteriously closed the case, and a 33rd person, survivor Liz Sherman, mysteriously disappeared. When the investigation into her disappearance was halted abruptly just 2 weeks after it began, some cried conspiracy and brought up the name of a long-defunct government agency, the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, or B.P.R.D. as it's commonly known. Disbanded in 1974, could this government agency still be secretly active? Hello, I'm Jim Moret. We'll find out tonight when Investigative Journal looks into the B.P.R.D., its strange history, and its possible involvement in world events, even today. All on this evening's Investigative Journal presents the B.P.R.D. Declassified. I recently spoke with someone, not a conspiracy theorist, but rather a young woman who lost a friend that day in 1986. Dorothy Hutchins, childhood friend and confidant of Liz Sherman. Dorothy Hutchins was Liz Sherman's best friend from preschool until the day Liz disappeared. You said that you and Liz were childhood friends. You met in kindergarten. Talk about anything unusual that you remember happening with Liz.
The strangest memory of her was one day when it was during recess and she was extremely upset. And I didn't really understand why she was upset. And she pulled me away from the rest of the kids. And she was just sobbing hysterically. And was like, you know, just so tense and upset and was holding her fist like this, clenched. And she said and repeated, "I can turn my fingers black. I can't help it."
Now, since that time, was there anything that you remember about Liz that strikes you as being odd?
Well, looking back, those years in elementary school, there were random things going on. There were a lot of fires, just spontaneous, small fires at school.
But do you somehow connect those fires with Liz in your mind?
I didn't then. Now I don't know. That kind of stuff doesn't happen to me anymore or around me anymore, so it's a bit odd that those occurrences did happen when I was around her.
Some say that the best evidence linking Liz Sherman's disappearance to the B.P.R.D. exists in the form of this videotape, released last year by the Justice Department under the Freedom of Information Act. It depicts a young girl's birthday party in the early 1980s attended by Liz Sherman. When we move in on Liz, we can clearly see what appears to be a flame emanating from her right hand, turning her fingers black, possible proof of her paranormal abilities. These frames may be the only evidence of Liz Sherman's strange powers, explaining why the B.P.R.D. was interested in her in the first place. There was a huge fire in Shelton.
Horrible.
A lot of people were killed. Describe that fire and tell us what happened.
Well, it was in April of '86, and it was early morning. You know, most of us were getting ready for school, and sirens, screaming, chaos.
Did you see Liz the day of that fire?
I think I saw her standing in the flames.
Standing in the flames. Was she on fire? Was she hurt?
She was looking at me. Just standing there, looking at me, and I was just being pulled away. Just fire flames all around her.
You went to a memorial service for a number of the people.
Right.
And they read off everyone's name. So what makes you think that Liz may have survived?
Well, they didn't list her. They didn't find her body. They didn't find her alive or dead.
Do you, in your heart, think that Liz caused that fire?
I don't know.
Could the B.P.R.D. have had something to do with Liz Sherman's disappearance in 1986 or in the catastrophic fire that killed 32 people? Could it be pulling strings in Washington to this day? Is the B.P.R.D., as some claim, responsible for saving millions of Americans over the years or for putting us in unnecessary danger? Recently declassified documents suggest the latter, while others claim it is a fraud or a hoax. For the next 30 minutes, Investigative Journal will peel away the veneer and peek into the secret world of the B.P.R.D., if it does indeed still exist. Though the existence of a U.S.-led Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense might sound far-fetched to some, there's a rich history of U.S. government agencies' involvement with the occult. Dr. Anthony Levy teaches history and metaphysics at Bellman University. One of his courses, Occult and Government in 20th Century History, explains how various nations used occultists to shape history in the modern age. You point to Rasputin as being the, if you will, father of the occult in
that's
Europe.
The big one. In terms of influence on a government, I think Rasputin in the 20th century was probably had the most power and the most influence based on his supposed occult learning. Now here you have, okay, you've got this scraggly monk. He supposedly had mystic powers, and he had convinced Tsar Nicholas, and particularly his wife Alexandra, that he had the power of saving their son. There are numerous documented cases of Rasputin supposedly curing this boy just by whispering in his ears.
Move forward a bit in history, staying in Europe. Focus on the Third Reich. There was a reliance with the Third Reich on the occult as well. Talk about that.
The Third Reich actually developed what they called the Occult Bureau, and their whole thrust of the Occult Bureau was to try to harness occult powers for their own use.
How elaborate did the reliance on the occult go with the Third Reich?
I think their major thrust was to get a hold of the Spear of Destiny.
Which is?
Well, this spear is the spear the Roman centurion plunged it into his side when Jesus was on the cross. And the Germans believed, and many people believed, that the spear, whoever controlled this spear, was invincible.
We know that the U.S. government also toyed with the idea of paranormal defense. For instance, in 1933, Franklin Roosevelt formed a group nicknamed the Watch, created to monitor and combat the enemy's occult bureau with his own brand of paranormal justice.
Most people with the government will tell you the Watch was simply to monitor the activity of the Third Reich and see if there was a way to exploit it. And that people say that this, from the Watch, that sort of opened the door for U.S. government involvement in occult powers, and that led to the B.P.R.D., the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense.
Now, the U.S. government will claim, yes, there is a B.P.R.D., but the P never stood for paranormal, and the organization itself was disbanded in the mid-'70s.
Well, they claim, they admit there was a B.P.R.D., but they won't tell you what the P stood for. If you look at the documents where it's blacked out, the right number of letters is paranormal. What other word is there?
To this day, there are operations within the U.S. government that we hear little or nothing about. Besides the Watch and the alleged B.P.R.D., we also know about other top-secret government operations like MK Ultra, a secret government study into brainwashing and mind control. And during wartime, we hear about the exploits of Delta Force, an elite commando unit whose existence the U.S. government will not confirm or deny. Now some new information has come to light regarding the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense. This evidence, consisting of recently declassified documents and hard physical evidence, is making its way around the country in the form of a traveling show.
If you look, they're soldiers, and if you look right down here... It's
Conway Ricker is an estate lawyer in Kettering, Ohio. He's also the grandson of U.S. Army General Norton Ricker, a lifelong military veteran whose records are considered classified. On his deathbed, General Ricker told his grandson his most closely guarded secrets about his past association with the B.P.R.D. This confession altered the course of Conway's life forever. So you begin a quest, and how do you go about piecing together information?
First thing I did is I started looking into the Freedom of Information Act. and found out that I could get papers concerning my grandfather and the B.P.R.D. But the problem is once you get them, they're marked out. Somebody's gone through with a black marker and marked out most of the information that you're looking for.
So is there any information in these documents to suggest to you that there is a B.P.R.D.?
Oh, B.P.R.D. is actually, it's mentioned in there. It says it in there. So we know that that's real, and I was able to go through and from the bits of information I was able to put together, find the B.P.R.D.
This building, located on a New Jersey military base, is the location that Conway Ricker claims is the headquarters of the B.P.R.D. Though the government permitted us to shoot the exterior of this building, all requests to go inside or interview anyone we saw walking in or out were strictly forbidden. Conway Ricker has a trespassing warrant against him issued by this military base, requiring him to remain at least 200 yards from the building at all times. When you went to this location, the folks there didn't say this is the B.P.R.D. because the government claims there is no B.P.R.D. currently in existence.
Right, well, I've got memos that say that it does exist. I mean, they claim that it's been disbanded, but it's still operating.
While some believe that a government agency for paranormal defense is plausible, Ricker takes it one step further, suggesting a rogue faction of the Bureau that most call absurd.
You said your grandfather, General Norton Ricker, worked for the B.P.R.D. What did he do?
My understanding is the time that he was there, what he told me, he was looking after this Hellboy.
There's a lot of people who believe that the B.P.R.D. existed, but it's just the real fringe theorists who believe in Hellboy, I think. It's the ones that are out there. Just like there are people who think that Area 51, well, that may exist. The people who believe that the U.S. government is actually reverse engineering UFOs there to figure out how they work, that's, you know, that's going that far.
Do you worry that by coming forward, people will just think you're a nut?
Yeah, I know people think I'm a nut. I've lost a lot of clients at my practice.
How about your family?
They tolerate it.
Why do you think your grandfather wanted you to pursue this story?
I wish he had told me why, but I know him, and I know if he told me he wanted me to, it was important. So I will.
Coming up next, a historical perspective on the U.S. government and the paranormal. Stay tuned for more of investigative journal, the B.P.R.D. Declassified. Welcome back to Investigative Journal. Is the B.P.R.D. even a real organization? Declassified documents show a mention of its formation in 1943. If critics are correct, this government agency is not what is widely believed to be the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense. Rather, it is some other entity created by the U.S. government and presumably dismantled in 1974. But before we can believe that the government could fight enemies from a paranormal realm, we first need to know there is a plausible argument for the existence of the supernatural. Deb Cronroys is a research fellow at the Pinecliff University Parapsychology Program. When we talk about the paranormal, about things happening which we can't seem to explain with science, how do you respond to people who say, this is real?
Well, it is real in the sense that it's happening to them. So it's an event that occurred. All of my studies are totally scientific.
What have you seen with your own eyes that you would consider an example of the paranormal?
Well, I've done hundreds of experiments over the 32 years, and I have seen evidence of telepathy, mind-to-mind communication, clairvoyance, precognition, but we're talking minor evidence of this.
Based on what you've seen in your experiments, have you ever witnessed anything in the realm of the paranormal that you could harness either as a weapon or use defensively?
No. Absolutely not. Psychokinesis, which is what you're talking about, psychokinetic power, which is the ability to have mind over matter, to move something, to change the way something, the appearance of something, the way something looks, to blow something up, any kind of extreme power. It's absolutely impossible.
But Conway Ricker believes differently.
Yeah, it's well documented, known that controlled remote viewing is taking place, where they took people that were supposedly had no psychic abilities whatsoever, and they placed them in a room and they had them visualize where they imagined a target to be. And they were, I mean, the results were amazing. They were 75% accurate.
You've got a nice life in Ohio. You've got kids, you have a wife, you're a lawyer. Why would you risk everything just to prove the existence of Hellboy and the B.P.R.D?
Hopefully, they'll come forth and say, yes, this is something that we're involved in. We created, I don't know, they created him, stole him, whatever. Somehow we got Hellboy, and we've used him in military action.
Is there any doubt in your mind that Hellboy is real?
No. Hellboy is real. Read the book of Ephesians. You know, it talks about spiritual warfare, demons and angels battling, supernatural battles taking place.
What kind of proof do you have that there is, in fact, a Hellboy?
Well, I have actual physical proof.
Which is?
I have a horn that I believe is from Hellboy.
Ricker would not allow us to examine the alleged horn, but he did furnish us with this photograph.
There was an explosion at a estate in Scotland, and in the rubble of the explosion, this horn was found. Now, the man that owned this was well known and well documented to be involved in the occult.
But is there anything to prove the existence of this so-called Hellboy? Without hard proof, like Conway Ricker's alleged horn, it's easy to say there is no proof. What other proof, if any, do you have that suggests the existence of Hellboy?
Well, there's a photo that I believe is Hellboy. It's a group of soldiers during World War II. It's blurry, but you can make out a figure that's obviously not human. It looks like some type of creature.
I'm joined in studio with Nate Hyannis, a retired official with the United States Department of Defense, who claims that all of the stories about the B.P.R.D. are pure fantasy, and by satellite with Michael, who has chosen to have his real identity and face obscured for personal security reasons. Michael claims to be a former agent for the B.P.R.D., though he wants to be clear he does not fear reprisals from the Bureau. He is concerned that if people knew who he was, they would be able to track back to the Bureau itself and then cause harm to his friends still there. Is that right, Michael?
That's true, Jim. Thank you.
Welcome to both of you. First to Nate. If the B.P.R.D. is not the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense, what is it?
Well, Jim, basically the B.P.R.D. was a mechanism of the United States Department of Defense. Mission was highly classified, so there's not much to go into there. But one thing I can tell you is that the P in B.P.R.D. did not stand for paranormal.
Michael, we hear no paranormal, not active. What do you say?
Both are incorrect there, Jim.
So what is the B.P.R.D.?
The Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense is very active and very much alive today. Basically, what the B.P.R.D. does is it investigates paranormal phenomena that can't be explained with conventional science.
Well, Nate, we know that the United States government has dabbled into the realm of the paranormal in the past. Why would you dispute that?
Well, first of all, I don't dispute that. Excuse me. The government used many voodoo type of
Well, I'm glad he doesn't dispute it, but I wouldn't call it voodoo. In fact, our government
Michael,
every day...
Let me rephrase that, okay? The government did use certain hokey type of methods to gather information, especially back in World War II. However, back 50 years ago, they realized that it was a waste of time. They're wasting valuable resources, money on paranormal research, so they dropped off funding.
Well, actually, that's incorrect, because remote viewing has been used and is still used today. In fact, there's a very high accuracy rate.
Michael, you're hiding behind a screen and you're claiming to be part of an organization that doesn't exist.
We have to talk one at a time. Michael, respond to that if you could.
Not a problem. A lot of agencies exist that our government supports that's not public knowledge.
I've got top secret clearance on all levels from the Department of Defense.
Not that high. I've read your file.
Don't get personal now, Michael.
But for you to sit back and say that our government doesn't support certain departments would really call into question your credibility. For example, the Delta Force.
Michael, there's no need to question my
Ultra.
credibility.
I mean,
I'm a former sergeant of the United States Marine Corps,
for a long
and I've
time,
worked
our
for the Department of
government
Defense for 12
would not
years.
admit to that. We know now they do.
Gentlemen, hold on, both of you. The official line from the U.S. government is that funding for the B.P.R.D. ceased in the mid-'70s. Michael, you claim
ceased.
that it's a secret organization, in effect.
Very secret.
Still
we have
active.
to operate in secret, yes.
And Nate, what do you say?
I would say that, first of all, Michael, don't question my patriotism. Second of all,
No
to
one's
answer your
questioning your
question.
patriotism,
Second of all, to
sir.
answer your question, the government doesn't spend money on boogeymen, on little green men from Mars or the Tooth Fairy. We don't defend our country with Bigfoot, Michael.
What our government
This
does
is
spend its money on
last
is
word to you. We're
defense.
running out of time. Michael?
Unfortunately, we have a need for a B.P.R.D. I wish we didn't, but we do. And our government spends money on that to defend our country.
And that is unfortunately the final word. Clearly, this is a controversy will not be settled here. Thank you both for your time.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So are we to believe there is actually an agency of the federal government whose main task is to rid us of threats from the paranormal realm? Or are we to believe that there are people like Conway Ricker, a tax lawyer, who have left reality and their own credibility to search for creatures such as the elusive Hellboy?
I can already see in some circles I'm a laughingstock. But it's important enough for me to suffer that, to be that laughingstock, to help reveal what I believe is the truth, what I know is the truth.
And what of the personal lives that are touched? 18 years later, will Dorothy Hutchins ever know what happened to her best childhood friend?
I have no reason to believe that she's not with us. I'm confused, but I hope that one day I'll see her again.
Regardless of the lies that have been spread to either prop up or deny the existence of the B.P.R.D., at its heart lies a palpable mystery: the efforts of hardworking people using the Freedom of Information Act as a rallying cry have not yet uncovered what might be the first real mystery of the new millennium. I'm Jim Moret. Thank you for watching.